To escape a scandal, a best-selling author journeys to Scotland, where she falls in love with the castle and faces off with the grumpy duke who owns it. Sarah Langley, a renowned best-selling author known for her romantic novels, finds her career in turmoil after a public scandal shakes her reputation. Accused of fabricating elements of her latest book, a supposed real-life love story, Sarah becomes the center of media scrutiny. With her publisher distancing themselves and social media ablaze with controversy, Sarah desperately needs a break from the relentless spotlight. Determined to reclaim her peace and find inspiration for her next novel, Sarah books a spontaneous trip to Scotland. She arrives in Edinburgh, a city teeming with history, where the cobbled streets and medieval architecture provide a welcome escape from the chaos of her life. But instead of staying in the bustling city, she is drawn to the countryside, hoping for solitude and fresh, creative energy. While exploring the picturesque landscapes, she stumbles upon an enchanting yet somewhat neglected castle perched on the edge of a scenic valley. With its towering stone walls, ivy-covered turrets, and breathtaking views of the surrounding mountains, the castle feels like something straight out of one of her novels. Fascinated, Sarah becomes enamored with its history and charm, imagining the stories hidden within its ancient halls. However, her curiosity is met with hostility when she encounters the castle's owner, Alexander MacGregor, the Duke of Dunhaven. A gruff and reclusive nobleman, Alexander has little patience for outsiders, especially nosy tourists. He makes it clear that the castle is not for sale, nor does he welcome any interference in his affairs. But Sarah is not one to back down. The more she learns about the castle, the more she is convinced it holds the perfect setting for her next novel. As she tries to navigate the Duke's temper and the secrets the castle holds, their clashing personalities spark both frustration and an undeniable tension. What starts as a battle of wills soon transforms into something neither of them expected, a journey of discovery, redemption, and the possibility of love in the most unexpected place. Act 1: Arrival in Scotland. The bustling city of Edinburgh, surrounded by majestic mountains. Edinburgh, Scotland's capital, is a city where history and modernity blend seamlessly. Its cobbled streets, lined with centuries-old buildings, are alive with the chatter of locals and tourists alike. The scent of fresh-baked pastries drifts from charming cafes, mingling with the rich aroma of coffee and the occasional hint of rain-soaked stone. Towering above it all is Edinburgh Castle, perched atop Castle Rock like a silent guardian watching over the city. From its high vantage point, one can see the rolling hills and rugged mountains that cradle the city, their misty peaks standing as a dramatic backdrop to the lively urban landscape. Arthur's Seat, an ancient volcano-turned-hiking trail, looms in the distance, offering breathtaking panoramic views of the city below. The Royal Mile, a historic stretch running through the heart of the Old Town, is alive with street performers, storytellers, and bustling shops selling tartan scarves, handcrafted jewelry, and aged whiskey. Gothic spires and grand Georgian townhouses add to the city's architectural splendor, while hidden alleyways, or closes, whisper secrets of Edinburgh's rich past. Despite its old-world charm, Edinburgh pulses with contemporary energy. Trendy boutiques and upscale restaurants are nestled between historic landmarks, and art galleries showcase both traditional and avant-garde works. The city's deep literary roots are ever present, with statues and plaques honoring the likes of Sir Walter Scott, Robert Burns, and J.K. Rowling, who famously penned Harry Potter in a local cafe. As Sarah steps off the train at Waverley Station, the cool, crisp air of Scotland welcomes her. The rhythmic sound of bagpipes echoes from a nearby square, and the sight of the grand city stretching before her is both awe-inspiring and overwhelming. Though she came seeking solitude, something about Edinburgh's vibrant yet timeless energy stirs her soul. Little does she know, this is only the beginning of an adventure that will take her far beyond the city, to a secluded castle, a grumpy duke, and a love story she never saw coming. Sarah, a best-selling author, arrives in Scotland to escape a scandal back home. She plans to stay in a quaint countryside cottage to find peace and inspiration. The moment Sarah steps off the plane at Edinburgh Airport, a wave of relief washes over her. The crisp Scottish air carries the scent of damp earth and the faintest trace of burning peat, a stark contrast to the suffocating city life she left behind. Wrapped in a cozy coat, she pulls her suitcase along, hoping that this journey will be the fresh start she desperately needs. Her scandal had played out like a real-life drama, a misquoted interview, a heated online debate, and suddenly, her reputation as a beloved romance author was hanging by a thread. Paparazzi had camped outside her New York apartment, and her publisher had suggested she lay low until the storm blew over. So, here she was, on foreign soil, searching for solace in the Scottish countryside. After a brief stop in Edinburgh, where she takes in the grandeur of the historic city, Sarah rents a car and begins her drive into the rolling green landscapes of Scotland. The further she gets from the city, the more at ease she feels. The scenery transforms into something out of a dream: vast, open fields dotted with grazing sheep, winding roads flanked by towering pine trees, and in the distance, the hazy outline of mountains that seem to stretch endlessly into the sky. Her destination is Rosehill Cottage, a charming stone-built retreat nestled in a quiet valley. The moment she arrives, she is enchanted. The cottage is the picture of rustic perfection. Its ivy-covered walls, wooden shutters, and a brick chimney give it an old-world charm that makes her feel as if she's stepped into one of her own novels. A small garden, untamed yet beautiful, surrounds the cottage, and a narrow dirt path leads to a nearby forest. Inside, the cottage is warm and inviting. A crackling fireplace sits in the corner, filling the room with the scent of burning wood. The wooden beams overhead, the antique furniture, and the soft plaid blankets draped over the couch make the place feel like home. A bookshelf stacked with old Scottish literature catches her eye, and she smiles. Perhaps this is exactly where she's meant to be. As she unpacks, she reminds herself that this trip isn't just about running away. It's about rediscovering her voice, finding inspiration, and, hopefully, leaving the ghosts of her past behind. What she doesn't know yet is that the adventure waiting for her is far greater than just a quiet retreat. Somewhere beyond the hills and forests lies an ancient castle, a brooding duke, and a story she never expected to live. Act 2: Discovering the Castle. Sarah explores the Scottish countryside, stumbling upon a breathtaking castle nestled amidst rolling fields. After settling into Rosehill Cottage, Sarah wakes early the next morning, eager to explore the countryside that already feels like a world away from the chaos she left behind. Armed with her notebook, a thermos of tea, and a wool coat to shield her from the crisp autumn air, she sets off down a winding dirt path leading beyond the cottage. The landscape around her is nothing short of magical: endless rolling fields painted in hues of green and gold, dotted with wildflowers and grazing sheep. The gentle rustling of the wind through the tall grass and the distant babble of a stream make the world feel still, untouched by time. Sarah breathes in deeply, savoring the solitude. As she continues her walk, she follows a narrow, overgrown path she hadn't noticed before. It winds through a small grove of trees, their branches arching overhead like the entrance to a forgotten world. When she emerges on the other side, she stops in her tracks, her breath catching in her throat. Before her, perched atop a gentle hill, stands a breathtaking castle. The grand structure is a vision of weathered stone and towering turrets, its ivy-clad walls whispering tales of centuries past. A vast field stretches before it, leading down to a shimmering lake that reflects the golden afternoon sun. The castle is at once imposing and beautiful, standing proudly against the backdrop of distant mountains. It looks like something straight out of her novels, a setting so perfect it seems almost unreal. Drawn by curiosity, Sarah walks closer, taking in the intricate details, the grand arched windows, the sturdy oak doors, the delicate carvings on the stone walls. She wonders who lives here, what stories these walls have witnessed. She can almost hear the echoes of the past in the gentle breeze. But just as she reaches the edge of the castle grounds, a deep, unmistakably irritated voice startles her. "You're trespassing." She turns sharply to find a tall, broad-shouldered man standing near the entrance, his arms crossed over his chest. His dark, piercing eyes are locked onto her with a mix of suspicion and annoyance. Sarah stiffens, caught between fascination and frustration. She hadn't expected to meet anyone, let alone someone who looks like he walked straight out of an aristocratic portrait. I didn't mean to trespass," she says quickly, gesturing toward the field. "I was just exploring, and this is private property," the man interrupts, his voice clipped and authoritative. "I don't appreciate strangers wandering about uninvited." Sarah narrows her eyes, her initial awe fading. She's dealt with difficult people before, and she certainly isn't about to be intimidated now. "Well, it's not my fault your castle is sitting in the middle of the most scenic view in Scotland," she retorts. "You should put up a sign if you don't want people admiring it." A flicker of something, amusement? Surprise? Crosses the man's face, but it vanishes just as quickly. "This castle is not a tourist attraction," he says firmly. "Now, if you're done trespassing, I suggest you leave." Sarah glances back at the castle, reluctant to go just yet. There's something about it, something about him, that intrigues her. But she knows better than to push her luck. "Fine," she huffs, taking a step back. "But for the record, I wasn't trespassing. I was simply appreciating the architecture." With one last lingering look at the castle, she turns and makes her way back toward the path, feeling his gaze on her the entire time. She doesn't know who he is yet. But something tells her this won't be the last time she crosses paths with the mysterious and infuriating man who owns the castle. Intrigued, she learns the castle is owned by the reclusive Duke of Edinburgh, known for his grumpy demeanor and reluctance to interact with outsiders. Back at Rosehill Cottage, Sarah can't shake the encounter from her mind. The castle, with its imposing beauty and centuries-old charm, had already captured her imagination, but the man who owned it was just as intriguing. His sharp tone, piercing gaze, and air of quiet authority had unsettled her, but more than that, he had intrigued her. Determined to learn more, she heads into the nearby village of Ashford the next day. The town, nestled in the valley between rolling hills, is as picturesque as a postcard: stone cottages with slate roofs, narrow cobbled streets, and a cozy little cafe that smells of fresh scones and spiced tea. As she sips her coffee in the warmth of the cafe, she strikes up a conversation with the friendly barista, a middle-aged woman named Maggie. After some casual chatter, Sarah casually brings up the castle. "That grand old place?" Maggie raises a knowing brow. That'd be Edinburgh Manor, home to the Duke of Edinburgh." Sarah's heart skips a beat. "The Duke of Edinburgh?" Maggie leans in slightly, lowering her voice. Duke James McAllister. The last of his family line. Keeps to himself, that one. Doesn't like visitors, doesn't like company, and certainly doesn't like outsiders sniffing around his land. She chuckles. Guessing you met him? Sarah laughs softly, shaking her head. You could say that. He accused me of trespassing. Maggie smirks. Sounds about right. He's got a reputation for being a bit gruff. That's putting it mildly, Sarah mutters, remembering the way he had glared at her like she was an unwelcome disturbance in his perfectly ordered world. Maggie sighs, her expression softening. He wasn't always like that, you know. There was a time when the Duke was well-liked, even charming. But after his father passed and his engagement ended rather publicly, well, let's just say he shut the world out. Been that way ever since. Sarah tilts her head, curiosity flaring. His engagement ended publicly? Maggie nods. Years ago, he was engaged to Lady Eleanor, a noblewoman from a well-connected family. The whole town expected a grand wedding, but something happened. No one knows what exactly. One day, she was gone, and he's been the way he is ever since. Stuck in that castle, keeping everyone at arm's length. She sighs. Truth be told, it's a shame. That castle deserves life in it, laughter, people coming and going. But instead, it's become just as closed off as its owner. Sarah absorbs the information, her mind already spinning with possibilities. A heartbroken duke, a castle shrouded in mystery, and a man who had locked himself away from the world. It sounded like the beginning of one of her novels. But this wasn't fiction. This was real. And for some reason, she couldn't shake the feeling that her story in Scotland was only just beginning. Act 3, First Encounter. The castle grounds with ancient stone walls and a view of distant mountains. The next afternoon, unable to resist her growing curiosity, Sarah finds herself once again near Edinburgh Manor. This time, she stays outside the castle grounds, wandering along the low stone wall that encircles the estate. The stones are weathered and worn, their rough surfaces covered in patches of moss, whispering tales of centuries past. Beyond the walls, the castle looms, a majestic relic of a bygone era, its towering turrets reaching toward the sky. The grand estate is surrounded by vast, open fields that stretch toward the horizon, where distant mountains rise, their peaks kissed by wisps of mist. The afternoon sun bathes the land in a golden glow, casting long shadows across the rugged terrain. Sarah takes a slow breath, allowing the sheer grandeur of the scene to sink in. It's unlike anything she's ever experienced before, untamed, breathtaking, and deeply, almost hauntingly, beautiful. She can almost picture the castle in its prime, bustling with life, horse-drawn carriages arriving at its grand entrance, elegant figures gliding through the gardens, the echoes of laughter carried by the wind. Now, however, the estate feels eerily silent, as if time has stood still. She notices a pathway leading around the castle toward a secluded garden. Intrigued, she follows it, stepping carefully over uneven stones. The garden is partially overgrown but still retains an air of quiet elegance. Rose bushes, though untended, bloom wildly, and an old stone fountain sits at the center, its water long dried up. A wrought iron bench, rusted but sturdy, faces the castle as though waiting for someone to return. She places a hand on the cool stone of the castle wall, wondering about the people who had once lived here. Had they been happy? Had they loved this place as much as she was beginning to? Just then, the wind shifts, carrying with it the deep, unmistakable voice of the Duke. I thought I made it clear that this isn't a sightseeing destination. Sarah startles, turning to find him standing a few feet away, arms crossed, his gaze unreadable. She lifts her chin, refusing to be intimidated. I'm not sightseeing. I'm appreciating. The corner of his mouth twitches, but his expression remains serious. That's a fancy way of saying trespassing. She exhales, exasperated. I stayed outside the walls this time. You can't possibly own the view of the mountains too, can you? A silence stretches between them. His eyes flick toward the mountains, then back to her. Something shifts in his gaze, just for a moment. You shouldn't linger here, he says at last, his voice quieter now. Sarah folds her arms. Why not? Are you afraid I'll uncover some dark secret hidden in the walls? His expression darkens slightly, as if the joke has hit too close to home. He says nothing, simply watching her with that same guarded intensity. Something tells Sarah that the castle does hold secrets. And for the first time in a long while, she finds herself wanting to stay, not just to escape her own troubles, but to uncover his. Sarah meets the Duke, Alexander, unexpectedly when she wanders onto the castle grounds. Their initial interaction is terse and filled with tension. Sarah had intended only to take a walk, to admire the towering castle from a respectful distance. But before she realized it, her feet had carried her past the weathered stone gates, down a winding path lined with overgrown hedges, and into the heart of the estate. She stops in her tracks, realizing her mistake. The castle looms before her, grand yet imposing, regal yet haunting. Up close, its stone facade shows signs of age, ivy creeping up the walls like nature reclaiming what was once untouchable. Lost, are we? The deep, unmistakable voice startles her. Sarah whirls around to find a tall, broad-shouldered man standing just a few feet away. He is dressed in a crisp, dark coat, his posture stiff, his expression unreadable. Duke Alexander McAllister. She recognizes him instantly, the infamous Duke of Edinburgh, known for his gruff demeanor and sharp tongue. And judging by the way he's looking at her, she's already made an impression. Sarah starts, then stops. She hadn't prepared an excuse. She hadn't even meant to be here. I was just admiring the castle. From the inside, he asks dryly, crossing his arms. His piercing blue eyes flicker over her, assessing. Sarah squares her shoulders. I didn't mean to trespass. I was walking, and then I suppose I got carried away. A beat of silence. His jaw tightens slightly, but there's something in his gaze, a flicker of curiosity, perhaps? You're American. His tone is flat, but the statement carries an underlying note of mild disdain. Sarah lifts her chin. That's correct. And you're the Duke? I was last time I checked, he replies. Sarah exhales, half amused, half exasperated. Look, I'll leave if that's what you want. No harm done. Alexander studies her for a long moment, as if trying to decide whether she's worth arguing with. Finally, he steps back, gesturing toward the path behind her. That would be best. Sarah turns to leave but hesitates, glancing back at him. For what it's worth, it's a beautiful place. It deserves to be seen. His expression remains stoic, unreadable. Not everything that's beautiful needs an audience. Sarah isn't sure what to make of that, but something in his tone makes her think he isn't just talking about the castle. As she walks away, she can feel his gaze lingering on her. And somehow, she knows this won't be the last time they meet. Act 4, conflict and curiosity. Inside the castle, with its grand halls and historical artifacts. Sarah had not expected to see the inside of the Duke's castle so soon, yet here she was. The vast entrance hall stretches before her, its high, vaulted ceilings adorned with intricate woodwork and chandeliers that glow with the warmth of flickering candlelight. The walls, made of aged stone, are lined with towering bookshelves filled with leather-bound tomes, their spines worn with time. The air is thick with history. Every corner of the castle seems to whisper stories of the past. Massive oil portraits hang in gilded frames, depicting solemn-faced ancestors, their watchful eyes following Sarah as she moves. Ornate suits of armor stand guard near the grand staircase, their metal polished yet aged, relics of a bygone era. Sarah runs her fingers over an old wooden table, its surface marked with scratches and scuffs, imperfections that tell of a life well lived. A massive stone fireplace, large enough for a person to stand in, dominates one side of the hall. The fire crackles softly, casting long shadows against the walls. Impressive, isn't it? Sarah turns sharply, finding Duke Alexander standing behind her, arms crossed. She clears her throat. More than impressive. It's like stepping into a different century. The Duke's expression is unreadable, but there's a flicker of something, pride, perhaps, or nostalgia. He steps forward, glancing at a marble bust of a past ruler, its features chiseled with precision. This place has stood for over 300 years, he says, his voice quieter now. Survived wars, changes in power, even my family's misfortune. But it seems I'm the only one left who cares to preserve it. Sarah studies him, noting the way his fingers trail absent-mindedly along the edge of an antique wooden chair, as if tethered to the past. That sounds lonely, she says softly. Alexander tenses, as if caught off guard. Then, in an instant, his cool exterior returns. It's just reality. Sarah doesn't press him further, but as she looks around, at the grandeur, the weight of history, and the undeniable loneliness that lingers in the air, she realizes something. This castle may be magnificent, but it feels more like a beautifully preserved prison than a home. And for the first time, she wonders, what is Duke Alexander really protecting, his legacy or himself? Despite their initial clash, Sarah is drawn to the castle's history and mysteries. She begins researching its past, much to Alexander's annoyance. Sarah's curiosity and Alexander's annoyance. Despite their tense first meeting, Sarah can't shake her fascination with the castle. Something about its towering stone walls, hidden corridors, and long-forgotten stories pulls her in. The more she learns, the more she wants to uncover. She starts by visiting the local archives in the city, poring over old records, handwritten letters, and faded photographs. The castle's history is layered with intrigue, stories of betrayal, lost fortunes, and even whispers of a hidden chamber that no one has been able to find. One evening, unable to resist her curiosity, Sarah returns to the castle, not uninvited, but certainly unwelcome in Alexander's eyes. You again? Alexander sighs when he finds her in the castle's library, a stack of books open before her. Sarah barely looks up. Good evening, your grumpiness. She scribbles something in her notebook, clearly absorbed in her research. Alexander folds his arms, his patience wearing thin. Do I need to put up "No trespassing" signs specifically for you? Sarah smirks. Technically, I was invited. Alexander raises an eyebrow. By whom? The castle, she replies, turning a page dramatically. It has stories to tell, and I intend to listen. He exhales sharply, walking past her and plucking a book from her stack. You're wasting your time. These old tales are exaggerated at best, complete nonsense at worst. Sarah leans forward, tapping a finger on a centuries-old map of the estate. Then why does this one mention a sealed-off passage beneath the east wing? It says it was bricked up 200 years ago after a mysterious disappearance. Alexander stiffens, his usual composed demeanor slipping, just for a second. Sarah notices. You know something about it, don't you? Alexander sets the book down with deliberate care. Some stories are better left buried. His tone is final, but Sarah only grins. See, now you've made me even more interested. Alexander pinches the bridge of his nose. God help me. Sarah closes her notebook with a satisfied smile. I think we're going to have so much fun unraveling these mysteries together. He doesn't respond, just mutters something under his breath before walking away. But as Sarah watches him leave, she knows one thing for certain: he's hiding something. And she fully intends to find out what. Act 5, Building Tension. The castle library, filled with dusty books and old maps, is nothing short of breathtaking, a grand chamber lined with towering mahogany bookshelves stretching up to the vaulted ceiling. A massive, arched window lets in the golden glow of the setting sun, casting long shadows over the worn wooden floors. Dust particles drift in the air, swirling like tiny spirits disturbed by Sarah's presence. Sarah runs her fingers along the spines of centuries-old books, their leather bindings cracked with age. Titles and faded gold lettering hint at subjects ranging from Scottish history and royal lineage to obscure myths and ancient architecture. The scent of aged parchment and candle wax lingers in the air, wrapping around her like an invitation to get lost in the past. At the center of the room stands a massive oak table, its surface cluttered with yellowed scrolls, ink bottles, and books left open as if someone had abandoned their research mid-thought. A map, worn, delicate, and filled with cryptic markings, catches Sarah's eye. She carefully unfurls it, tracing a finger along the detailed sketch of the castle grounds. It shows the estate as it was centuries ago, complete with hidden corridors and rooms that no longer exist. One section, labeled in elegant but almost illegible script, marks an area beneath the east wing. The Forgotten Passage. Sarah's heart skips a beat. This is the same passage she read about in the old records. The one that was mysteriously bricked up. You're persistent, a voice drawls behind her. She jumps, spinning around to find Alexander leaning against the doorway, arms crossed, watching her with a mix of amusement and exasperation. I prefer the term dedicated, she says, trying to mask her excitement. Alexander steps into the library, his boots echoing on the stone floor. He eyes the map, then her. Let me guess. You've convinced yourself this place is full of ghosts and buried treasure. Sarah smirks. Not ghosts, yet. But I did find something interesting. She taps the map. This passage under the east wing, you know what's down there, don't you? His expression darkens. Whatever it was, it's long gone. But it was sealed off, Sarah presses. Why? Alexander doesn't answer right away. Instead, he moves to a nearby bookshelf and pulls out an old, weathered journal. He hesitates for a moment before handing it to her. If you insist on digging, he mutters, start with this. Sarah takes the journal carefully, her fingers brushing against his for the briefest moment. She glances up at him, surprised by the flicker of something unreadable in his gaze, a hint of reluctance, or maybe something deeper. "Why are you helping me?" she asks. Alexander exhales, running a hand through his hair. "Because I have a feeling you won't stop until you find something. And I'd rather you not get yourself killed in the process." Sarah raises an eyebrow. "Killed? Dramatic much?" Alexander's lips twitch as if he's holding back a smirk. "You have no idea what you're getting yourself into." Sarah grips the journal tighter, her pulse quickening. But that only makes her more determined to uncover the castle's secrets. Sarah uncovers secrets about the castle's origins and its ties to Scottish history, slowly melting Alexander's guarded exterior. Sarah spends the next several days in the castle library, poring over the journal Alexander handed her. The leather-bound book, yellowed with age, is filled with scribbled notes, faded sketches, and cryptic references to the castle's origins and the McAllister family's deep ties to Scottish history. The more Sarah reads, the more intrigued she becomes. The journal paints a picture of a family steeped in power, wealth, and influence, dating back to the days of medieval Scotland. It describes how the castle was built, its stone walls steeped in blood and legend, constructed not just as a fortress, but as a symbol of dominance over the surrounding lands. The McAllister family's rise to prominence was tied to pivotal moments in Scottish history: battles, alliances, betrayals, and even the royal court. One entry stands out to Sarah, a passage about a disappearance that happened long ago, a secret never fully uncovered. It hints at something buried beneath the East Wing, something that was meant to be forgotten. The journal speaks of a family curse, a prophecy that someone from the McAllister bloodline would one day destroy the family legacy, plunging them into ruin. The only way to prevent it, the journal suggests, was to seal away the family's darkest secret forever. Sarah can't help but shiver. What was the secret? And what had Alexander's ancestors hidden so carefully? The more she reads, the more she realizes that Alexander is far more connected to this history than he realizes. The weight of it must be enormous, melting Alexander's guarded exterior. One evening, Sarah finds herself sitting near the grand fireplace, journal in hand, when Alexander unexpectedly enters the library. He stops short when he sees her, his eyes immediately flicking to the journal. "You're still at it," he remarks dryly, though there's something in his voice, a hint of something softer, less defensive. Sarah looks up, setting the journal aside. "There's a lot more to your family's history than I thought." She pauses, then adds, "I had no idea the McAllisters were so involved in Scottish history, the battles, the allegiances, the royal connections." Alexander steps further into the room, his eyes scanning the space as if he's trying to distance himself from the conversation. "The McAllisters are history. Nothing more. We don't live in the past." Sarah's eyes narrow. "But don't you feel like you're carrying all of that with you? You can't just ignore it." He looks at her sharply, his lips pressed into a thin line. For a moment, Sarah wonders if she's pushed too far. But then, he sits down across from her. The change in his posture is subtle, but it's enough to show she's getting through. "Not all of it is worth carrying," Alexander says quietly. "There's too much pain, too much loss." Sarah's voice softens. "Maybe it's not about carrying it all. Maybe it's about understanding it." For a long moment, they sit in silence. The crackling fire is the only sound in the room. Finally, Alexander looks up, meeting Sarah's gaze. The walls around him are beginning to crack. "Maybe you're right," he admits, his voice uncharacteristically vulnerable. "But it's not easy, Sarah." Sarah smiles gently, her heart softening. Nothing worth doing ever is. Act 6, Unexpected Friendship. The castle gardens, with roses in bloom against a backdrop of mountains, are a serene contrast to the imposing structure of the castle itself. Winding pathways lead through a vibrant tapestry of flowers in full bloom, and the scent of fresh roses fills the air. The vibrant red and soft pink petals stand out against the lush greenery, their fragrance mingling with the crisp mountain air that drifts in from the distant peaks. The gardens are carefully tended, but there's an untamed beauty to them as well, with ivy crawling up the ancient stone walls and vines curling around old wrought iron fences. It's clear that someone here loves this place, someone with a quiet, hidden appreciation for the beauty of nature, just as Sarah does. As Sarah walks through the gardens, she can't help but pause at each flower, running her fingers over the soft petals and inhaling deeply. It's a place of peace, a sanctuary away from the tensions inside the castle. Her mind is still buzzing with the history she's uncovered in the journal, but the calm of the gardens begins to slow her thoughts, allowing her to breathe deeply and let go of the noise. Just as she's about to continue her stroll, she hears footsteps behind her, a familiar sound she's come to associate with Alexander. He steps into view, looking every bit the reclusive Duke, his expression serious and unreadable, but his gaze softens when he sees her standing among the roses. "You're here often," Sarah comments lightly, her eyes lingering on the flowers. "I would have thought you'd prefer the solitude of the library." Alexander shrugs, his hands tucked into the pockets of his trousers. "The garden is more honest," he says simply. "The flowers don't lie about what they need, and they don't expect anything in return." Sarah looks at him, her eyes searching his face. "And you?" she asks softly. "Do you lie about what you need?" He doesn't answer immediately, his gaze drifting to the distant mountains as if he's weighing the question. The tension between them is palpable, a moment of raw honesty hidden beneath the calm exterior. "I think I've forgotten how to ask for what I need," he finally admits, his voice quiet, almost a whisper. "This castle, it's a legacy. A burden." Sarah steps closer, her curiosity piqued. "A burden you've been carrying alone?" He nods, his eyes meeting hers with a look of quiet resignation. "It's what I was born into. But that doesn't make it easier to carry." Sarah hesitates, then offers a soft smile. "Maybe it's time to share the burden, just a little." For a moment, Alexander doesn't respond. But then, almost imperceptibly, his lips twitch into the faintest smile. "Maybe." The air between them shifts, less tense, less guarded. It's as if, in this garden, surrounded by nature's quiet beauty, the walls they've both built begin to crumble. As the conversation lulls, Sarah's gaze drifts once again to the mountains. "This place," she says thoughtfully, "it's so beautiful. But it feels like there's so much more to discover here. So much history still waiting to be uncovered." Alexander looks at her, his expression softer than before. "If you're willing to keep searching, I'll show you more." The words hang in the air, the promise unspoken, but understood. They stand there together, in the heart of the garden, the roses in bloom and the distant mountains watching over them, each lost in their thoughts but connected in a way that neither can fully explain. Sarah and Alexander begin to bond over shared interests and mutual respect. Their conversations reveal their vulnerabilities and dreams. As the days pass, Sarah and Alexander's encounters become more frequent, each one unfolding with a new layer of understanding. The once tense and awkward interactions begin to shift, revealing common ground that neither had anticipated. They start to share more of themselves, their stories intertwining, creating a bridge between them that neither can ignore. One afternoon, they find themselves in the castle's library once again, but this time, the air is lighter. Alexander, usually reserved and distant, is sitting across from Sarah, a cup of tea in hand, listening as she talks about her latest novel. Do you ever feel like your characters are speaking to you? Sarah asks, her voice animated. Like, they just take over? I can't help but let them shape the story. Alexander leans back in his chair, his eyes thoughtful. I think I understand, he says slowly, his deep voice carrying a quiet intensity. There are times when I feel like I'm not in control of the direction my life is going. Like everything I do, every decision I make is already mapped out. Sarah glances at him, surprised by his openness. That sounds exhausting. Not having control over your own life. Alexander looks at her, a flicker of vulnerability passing through his eyes. It is. But it's what's expected of me. This castle, the title, the legacy. It all comes with a certain responsibility. Sarah leans forward, her curiosity piqued. But what if you don't want that responsibility? What if you want something different? He hesitates, as if contemplating the question for the first time. I don't know if I've ever had the chance to want something different, he admits, his voice barely above a whisper. The McAllister name is all anyone expects from me. I've never really had the chance to dream for myself. The honesty in his words resonates deeply with Sarah. It's a vulnerability she can relate to. As a best-selling author, she's always been under the pressure of creating stories that sell, of living up to the expectations of her readers and publishers. She knows what it feels like to be stuck in a box, shaped by others' perceptions of her. Maybe that's why I write, she says quietly, more to herself than to him. It gives me the chance to explore other worlds, to dream of things I can't have. Alexander's gaze softens, and for a moment, the world outside the library disappears. You think writing gives you freedom? Sarah nods. In a way. It's the one place I can be completely myself, without anyone telling me what to do or how to feel. Alexander studies her for a long moment, his brow furrowing as if he's seeing her in a new light. I've never thought about it that way, he says, his voice low. Maybe I've been too focused on the weight of my duties to see the value in freedom. There's a long pause between them, the air thick with unspoken understanding. Finally, Sarah breaks the silence, her tone gentle. Maybe it's time for both of us to find our own freedom. Alexander meets her gaze, and in his eyes, she sees something different, a flicker of hope, of possibility. Maybe we could, he murmurs, almost as if testing the idea. Discovering vulnerabilities and dreams. Their conversations continue in much the same way, growing deeper with every exchange. They share stories of their pasts, their fears and dreams, and the things that have shaped them into who they are today. Sarah tells Alexander about her childhood in a small town, how she always dreamed of being a writer, and how she fought to carve out a space for herself in the literary world. She shares the struggles she's faced with her career, the pressure of living up to expectations, the fear of failure, and the isolation that comes with being in the public eye. In return, Alexander opens up about the burdens of being the Duke of Edinburgh, the weight of maintaining his family's reputation, and the loneliness he's felt growing up. He speaks of his desire for something more, a life less defined by duty and more defined by his own choices. I've always felt like I was living for everyone else, he admits one evening, after dinner. For the legacy, for the title, for the people who rely on me. But I've never asked myself what I really want. Sarah listens intently, her heart aching for him. "What do you want, Alexander?" His answer is slow, his voice uncertain. "I want to feel free. I want to explore the world, to find something I can truly believe in, something that's mine." Her heart swells with compassion, and she places a hand on his arm, her touch gentle but firm. "You deserve that. You deserve to live for yourself, not for anyone else." For the first time, Sarah sees the full weight of Alexander's internal struggle, his heart torn between what he feels is expected of him and what he truly desires. She realizes that, in many ways, they are not so different. Both of them are searching for freedom, for a way to be themselves without the weight of others' expectations. As the night wears on, they sit together in the castle's grand hall, talking long into the hours. The walls between them are slowly crumbling, and with every conversation, they begin to see each other not as duke and outsider but as two people bound by a shared sense of longing. Act 7, Growing Closer. Sarah and Alexander share moments of laughter and camaraderie, discovering common ground beyond their initial misunderstandings. Shared moments of laughter and camaraderie as the days pass, the tension that once marked Sarah and Alexander's encounters begins to fade. Their interactions shift from guarded exchanges to moments of genuine connection. The more they talk, the more they find themselves laughing over shared experiences and quirks they never would have expected from each other. One afternoon, Sarah and Alexander find themselves on a walk through the castle grounds, surrounded by the soft whispers of the wind and the distant sound of birds. Sarah, eager to find humor in their contrasting personalities, teases him playfully. "You know," she begins with a sly grin, "I never would have pegged you for someone who knows how to enjoy a good joke." Alexander raises an eyebrow, a half-smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "And what makes you think I don't?" Sarah laughs, recalling one of their earlier encounters when he had been almost unbearably serious. "Well, the way you looked at me the first time we met, like I was a complete nuisance, didn't exactly scream jokester." Alexander chuckles, shaking his head. "You were hardly a nuisance," he admits with a grin. "More like a storm in a teacup. But I can't say I was ready for a stranger to waltz in and challenge everything I thought I knew about this place." Her eyes sparkle with amusement. "Challenge, huh? I think it's more like disrupting your very organized little world." Alexander smirks. "You definitely disrupted it." The playful banter continues as they walk, the walls between them slowly falling away. Sarah is surprised by how easy it is to laugh with him now, how the sharpness of their earlier conversations has softened into something more comfortable. In return, Alexander begins to tease Sarah as well, poking fun at her fascination with the castle's eccentric history, which he finds somewhat overblown. "Did you really have to spend an entire afternoon in the library researching the history of the castle's moat?" he asks, incredulous. "I'm sure it's fascinating, but I'm still not convinced it's the most important thing about the castle." Sarah grins mischievously, tossing her hair over her shoulder. "Well, it's not every day I come across a castle moat that actually has a hidden tunnel." Alexander looks at her with mock horror. "A hidden tunnel? Please tell me you haven't uncovered any secret passages. I can't be having my guests wandering off into mysterious corridors while I'm not looking." "I'll be sure to leave the mysterious corridors alone," she says with a wink. "But who knows, I might just find another one behind that wall you keep staring at." They both burst out laughing, the sound light and carefree, echoing in the air around them. For the first time, they begin to enjoy each other's company without the weight of expectation or old grudges. Their conversations are no longer just about history and responsibilities. They found common ground in their shared humor and curiosity. Later that evening, after dinner, they find themselves in the castle's drawing room, each with a glass of wine in hand. Alexander begins to tell Sarah a story about his childhood, a tale of an epic snowball fight with his cousins that ended in a disastrous tumble down a hill, leaving him with a bruised ego and a new appreciation for humility. Sarah laughs, her eyes wide with delight. "I never would have imagined the great Duke of Edinburgh ever being outsmarted by a snowball fight," she teases, her voice light. "I thought you were supposed to be all serious and regal." Alexander shakes his head, his expression warm with affection. "I was serious and regal, until the snowball hit me square in the face. After that, I was just a very disgruntled duke." The two of them dissolve into laughter again, the sound filled with a genuine connection that's been months in the making. Alexander is no longer the stern, distant figure she once saw him as. Instead, Sarah is discovering a side of him that's relatable, fun, and full of life, a side she never could have imagined before. And, as the night wears on, they exchange stories and laughter, realizing just how much they've grown to respect one another, not only for their accomplishments but for their shared vulnerabilities and quirks. In these moments of camaraderie, their bond deepens, and the barriers they once had up between them now feel like a distant memory. Act 8. External Pressures. Sarah's past catches up with her as tabloid rumors about her scandal resurface, threatening her newfound happiness with Alexander. Sarah's past catches up with her as Sarah begins to settle into her new life in Scotland. The joy and peace she's found with Alexander and the castle start to feel like a sanctuary from the chaos of her past. The walls she's built around herself begin to crumble, and for the first time in what feels like forever, she allows herself to experience true happiness. But just as she starts to believe that perhaps she can escape the world that once defined her, her past crashes back into her life in a way she can't ignore. It begins one morning when Sarah receives a call from her publisher's assistant, her voice tight with concern. "Sarah, I'm really sorry to be the one to tell you this, but there's a tabloid article going around. It's about your scandal, and it's getting a lot of attention." Sarah's heart sinks. She grips the phone tightly, her pulse racing. "What scandal? I thought that was all behind me." "I'm afraid the tabloids aren't letting it go. They're dredging up everything from the past few months, the fallout from your broken engagement, the rumors about the affair, and how it all affected your career. They're even saying you're hiding out in Scotland, trying to escape the backlash." Her throat tightens. The words feel like a heavy weight she's been carrying for so long, and she realizes just how much she's been hoping to leave them behind. The scandal had nearly destroyed her career, the betrayal, the media frenzy, the judgment from the public eye. She thought she'd moved on, but now it's all coming rushing back. Is there any way to stop it? Sarah asks, though she already knows the answer. The tabloids thrive on sensationalism. There's no escaping once they latch onto a story. "I'm afraid not, Sarah. It's already spread like wildfire. The press will be looking for you, asking questions." Sarah stands there, frozen, as the weight of her past presses down on her. For a moment, she can barely breathe. But then, her thoughts turn to Alexander, to the life she's begun to build with him in this quiet, peaceful corner of the world. She can't let this ruin everything. She can't let her past destroy her chance at happiness. The tension builds. As the days go on, the whispers of the scandal begin to seep into the peaceful life she's built with Alexander. She sees the rumors splashed across newspapers and heard in hushed voices among the staff in the castle. It's as if the world is reminding her that no matter how far she runs, Her past is never far behind. The tension between her and Alexander grows, too. Though he continues to treat her with kindness, Sarah notices the subtle shift in his demeanor. His eyes occasionally dart to her with concern, and there's an uneasiness in his posture when they're alone. He tries to remain calm and supportive, but she can tell that even he is affected by the growing storm surrounding her. One evening, as they sit in the drawing room, Alexander clears his throat and looks at her with a mixture of sympathy and worry. "Sarah, I know you've been avoiding talking about it, but we need to address the rumors. The press is starting to get too close. We can't keep pretending it doesn't exist." Sarah's heart sinks. She's been dreading this moment. "I thought I could leave it behind," she murmurs, barely able to meet his gaze. "I thought I could escape it here. But it's like it's following me." Alexander reaches for her hand, his touch gentle. "You don't have to face this alone, Sarah. I'm here." She shakes her head, the familiar ache of embarrassment creeping back in. "You don't understand. The scandal isn't just something that can be explained away. It's ruined my career. It's ruined everything. And now, I've brought it into your life too." "That's not true," he says firmly, his voice unwavering. "You're not the scandal. You're not the mistakes that others have made about you. We're more than that, Sarah." She looks at him, tears welling in her eyes. "But can you honestly say that this won't change everything? Can you say that we can go on like this, with everything that's hanging over us?" Alexander remains silent for a long moment, his gaze soft but unyielding. "I won't let this destroy us. We're stronger than any rumor, any judgment. You deserve to be happy, and I won't let anything take that from you." But Sarah's heart aches as she wonders whether he truly understands the depth of her guilt, the way the scandal has shattered her confidence, the way she feels as if she's constantly running from her past. She fears that the weight of it all will eventually push Alexander away, that the world they've been building together will come crumbling down under the pressure of public scrutiny. A difficult choice. The next day, Sarah sits alone in the castle's beautiful gardens, her thoughts racing. The mountain backdrop is as stunning as ever, but it offers her no comfort now. Her mind is consumed by the articles, the headlines, the endless accusations. It feels like the walls of the castle are closing in around her, and the peaceful haven she's found with Alexander feels like it's slipping through her fingers. Suddenly, she feels a familiar presence. Alexander stands at the edge of the garden, watching her. She feels a pang of guilt, knowing how hard this is for him too. He walks toward her, his steps slow but determined. When he reaches her, he crouches down beside her, his hand resting on her shoulder. "I know you're hurting, Sarah," he says softly, his voice full of empathy. "But you don't have to face this alone. We can face it together." Her chest tightens at his words, but she shakes her head. "I'm scared, Alexander. I'm scared that this will follow me forever. That it will follow us." He leans in, his face inches from hers. "I'm not afraid of the past, Sarah. I'm afraid of losing you." In that moment, Sarah realizes that love, real love, has nothing to do with the scandals of the past. It's about the courage to face the present together, no matter the shadows that loom over it. She knows what she has with Alexander is worth fighting for, even if the world doesn't understand. "Then let's face it together," she whispers, taking his hand. Act 9. Facing Challenges. Sarah confronts Alexander about their future amidst societal expectations and personal fears. They both struggle with their growing feelings for each other. The days following the tabloid storm are a whirlwind of emotions for Sarah. The tension between her and Alexander feels palpable, thick in the air as they navigate the increasingly difficult situation. She's caught between her own fear of public judgment and her growing affection for him. She's never felt so vulnerable, yet so connected. But the weight of their realities hangs over them like a storm cloud, threatening to shatter what they've built. One evening, as they sit by the fireplace in the castle's sitting room, the room warm and cozy in stark contrast to the turmoil brewing inside Sarah, she finally speaks up. Her voice is steady, but there's a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "Alexander, we need to talk." Her words break the comfortable silence between them, and she immediately feels the tension settle in. He looks at her with concern, his brow furrowing as he sets down his book. "Of course, what's on your mind?" Sarah hesitates for a moment, gathering her thoughts. The flicker of doubt she's been battling for weeks now feels overwhelming, and it's hard to push it aside. "I don't know what this is between us anymore," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know where we're heading, and I'm scared of what happens next." Alexander's expression shifts to one of soft understanding, but there's a sadness in his eyes too. "You're scared of the scandal, of the pressure," he says quietly, as if reading her mind. She nods, feeling the weight of the truth in her chest. "Yes. And I'm scared of how much we're giving up by staying in this. The expectations of society, the judgment, the rumors. I'm not sure I'm strong enough to face it all." "And what about you? Your name, your title. It's a lot to bear." Alexander sighs, running a hand through his hair. "I don't want to lose you, Sarah. But the truth is, I've been torn between my duty and my feelings. I'm the Duke of Edinburgh, and there's a legacy that comes with it. My family expects me to follow the rules, to marry someone who fits into that world. But every time I think about it, I can't picture anyone else but you." Sarah's chest tightens at his words. She knows all too well the struggle that comes with living up to societal expectations, but she doesn't want to be the cause of his internal conflict. "But your title, your legacy," she says softly. "Can you really give all of that up? For me?" Alexander looks at her, his eyes filled with determination. "I don't want to lose myself in the expectations of others, Sarah. You make me feel like I'm more than just a title, more than just a name. You've made me feel like I matter, like my choices matter." He pauses, taking a deep breath. "But I'm scared too. Scared that I'll disappoint everyone around me, and scared that we're heading into something that might break us." A heavy silence falls between them. Sarah can feel the weight of both their fears pressing down, but despite the uncertainties, she can't deny the pull she feels toward him. It's as if their connection is something unspoken, something that runs deeper than the surface-level complications they face. "Do you think we can survive the pressure?" she asks, her voice barely a whisper. "Do you think we can make it work despite all the judgment, all the expectations?" Alexander reaches across the table, his hand brushing gently against hers. His touch is warm, comforting, but it doesn't erase the complexity of their situation. "I don't know," he admits, his voice low. "But I'm willing to try. I'd rather face the world with you by my side than walk it alone." Sarah feels a flicker of hope. Maybe they can do this. Maybe, just maybe, they can defy the odds and face their fears together. But she knows it's not going to be easy. They'll have to face the backlash from both their worlds, the world of tabloids and royal duties. But their love, this fragile, growing love, feels worth the fight. The growing struggles. As the days pass, the weight of their unresolved issues continues to build. Though they spend more time together, the tension between them is still palpable. The thought of Alexander's duty to his title looms large, and Sarah's insecurities about being enough for him only seem to deepen. One evening, they take a walk along the edge of the castle grounds, the mountains looming in the distance. The air is crisp, the sun setting in a wash of deep orange and pink, but the beauty of the moment can't quite mask the conflict within them. Alexander, Sarah starts, her voice hesitant. Do you ever wonder if we're just chasing something that can't be? He stops walking, turning to face her. What do you mean? She looks down at the ground, unable to meet his gaze. I mean, do you think we're fooling ourselves? That maybe we're just two people trying to escape the worlds we've built around us? We're both running from something, expectations, society, our own fears, and I wondered if we're building something that can't stand on its own. Alexander steps closer, gently lifting her chin so that she looks him in the eyes. What I know is this: when I'm with you, I feel more alive than I ever have. It doesn't matter what the world expects or what others think. What matters is what we share. He pauses, searching her eyes. Do you feel that too? Sarah feels the familiar warmth spread through her chest. Yes, she feels it too. But even as she realizes this, the doubts still linger. She's afraid of the future, of what could be lost. I don't know if I'm brave enough, she admits, her voice trembling. But I want to be. Alexander smiles, a glimmer of hope returning to his eyes. Then let's be brave together. A step toward the future. The conversation marks a turning point. Sarah and Alexander don't have all the answers, but for the first time, they admit that the future will be filled with uncertainty. Yet, despite the weight of the world on their shoulders, they both realize that together, they might be able to find their way through the storm. They may not be able to control the scandal or the pressures from society, but they can control their actions, their choices, and their commitment to each other. It won't be easy, but they're ready to take the first step, hand in hand, toward a future they can build together. Act 10, Resolving Differences. Sarah and Alexander have a heart-to-heart conversation, acknowledging their differences and fears. They realize they are stronger together than apart. The evening air is cold as Sarah and Alexander stand together, gazing out at the view of the rolling hills and distant mountains. The castle behind them, towering and ancient, seems to hold its breath as if waiting for their next move. The past few weeks have been filled with a mixture of warmth, laughter, and tension, but now, in this quiet moment, all their unsaid words are rising to the surface. Sarah takes a deep breath, letting the cool air fill her lungs. I've been thinking, she begins, her voice soft but steady. About everything, the scandal, the pressure, the world we both come from. She looks up at him, her eyes searching his for understanding. It's easy to let fear control us. To think that we can't have a future because of everything else that's against us. Alexander watches her closely, his expression thoughtful. Fear has always been a part of my life, he admits quietly. Fear of not living up to expectations. Fear of disappointing my family, the people of Edinburgh. Fear of being trapped in something I don't want. He turns to face her fully, his voice gaining strength. But when I'm with you, I feel different. Like I don't have to be afraid anymore. Sarah's heart flutters at his words. She's been afraid too, afraid that their differences might keep them apart, that the world wouldn't allow them to be together. But in this moment, she feels a flicker of hope. She takes a step closer to him, the space between them growing smaller. "I've been afraid of losing myself," she admits, her voice trembling slightly. "Afraid of losing my sense of who I am. I've spent so long being defined by my past, by my career, by what others think of me. And now I'm terrified that if I let myself fall for you, I'll lose everything that I've worked for." Alexander reaches out, gently taking her hand in his. "You don't have to lose anything. Not your career, your dreams, or your identity. We don't have to be defined by what others expect of us. We can create our own path, one that's ours, and no one else's." Sarah looks down at their intertwined hands, feeling a surge of emotion she hadn't expected. Her fears, her insecurities, seem to fade as she focuses on the warmth of his touch. "But it's not just about us. It's about everything that comes with us. The scandal, your title, the responsibilities we both carry. We can't just ignore all of that. It feels like we're fighting a battle we can't win." Alexander lifts her chin gently, forcing her to look him in the eyes. "We don't have to fight alone," he says, his voice firm but tender. "If we're in this together, we can face whatever comes our way. You and me, Sarah. Together." His words are simple but powerful, like a promise. Sarah feels a lump in her throat, the weight of his sincerity overwhelming her. "I want that," she whispers, her eyes filling with unshed tears. "I want to believe that we can have something real. Something that matters." Alexander nods, his gaze softening. "I know it's not going to be easy, but nothing worth having ever is. We'll face the hard moments, the fear, the doubt, together. We'll build a life that's ours, and we won't let anyone or anything take that from us." They stand there for a long moment, the only sound the whisper of the wind and the distant calls of birds. In that stillness, their hearts beat in unison, both realizing that what they've found in each other is worth fighting for. The strength in togetherness. As the evening fades into night, the castle becomes quiet, the shadows stretching across the stone floors. Sarah and Alexander walk back toward the warmth of the castle, their hands still linked. Neither of them has all the answers, but they've come to understand one undeniable truth: they are stronger together than apart. Their journey won't be without obstacles, but for the first time, they both feel a sense of peace in knowing that no matter what comes next, they will face it side by side. As they enter the castle, the flickering firelight casting shadows on the walls, Sarah knows that this is just the beginning. They've acknowledged their fears, their doubts, and their differences. But in doing so, they've created something stronger, something built on trust, understanding, and a shared desire for happiness. Together, Sarah whispers to herself as she glances at Alexander, a soft smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "Together," he replies, his voice steady and full of resolve. And with that simple word, everything feels possible. Act 11, Embracing Love. Sarah and Alexander share a tender moment, confessing their love for each other and committing to a future despite the challenges ahead. The night has settled over the castle, and a quiet peace envelopes the grounds. The large windows of the sitting room reveal the stars above, their twinkling light adding to the serene atmosphere. Inside, the soft crackle of the fireplace fills the room, casting a warm glow over Sarah and Alexander, who sit across from each other, the silence between them comfortable yet charged with an unspoken emotion. Sarah's heart beats faster as she watches the flames dance, her thoughts swirling. She had never imagined that her escape to Scotland would lead her here, standing on the brink of something she never expected, with someone she never thought she'd meet. And yet, Here she is, in this castle, in this life she never thought possible, with Alexander, the man who had become her everything. Alexander is the first to break the silence, his voice low and earnest. "I never thought I'd find someone like you, Sarah," he says, his eyes intense as they meet hers. "I've spent so long guarding myself, my life, my heart, but you've made me see that it's worth taking risks. Worth facing the unknown." Sarah's breath catches in her throat. She had always prided herself on being independent, on having control over her own life. But now, with Alexander's gaze fixed on her, all her walls seem to crumble. The vulnerability she had hidden for so long now feels like freedom. She leans forward, her hands trembling slightly as they rest on her lap. "I never thought I'd find someone who could make me feel like this," she admits, her voice barely above a whisper. "Someone who could make me feel like I'm enough, just as I am. You've shown me a kind of love I didn't know existed. A love that doesn't come with expectations, just acceptance." Alexander's lips curve into a soft smile, and he reaches across the space between them, taking her hand gently in his. "You are more than enough, Sarah. You've always been enough. And I've come to realize that love isn't about perfection. It's about the journey, about being there for each other, through everything." The weight of his words settles between them, heavy with meaning. Sarah's heart swells with emotion, and before she can stop herself, she responds, "I love you, Alexander. I love you more than I ever thought was possible. Despite everything, despite who I am and who you are, I love you." Alexander's eyes soften, and his thumb brushes gently over the back of her hand. "I love you too, Sarah. With everything I am. I don't know what the future holds, and I don't know how we'll navigate the challenges ahead. But I know one thing for certain, I want to face them with you, by my side." The words are simple, but they resonate with all the truth in the world. Their love, born from their shared moments of vulnerability and connection, is undeniable. It is a love not without its struggles, but one that is rooted in trust, respect, and deep affection. For a moment, there is nothing else but the two of them, no scandal, no societal expectations, no pressure from the world outside the castle walls. Just Sarah and Alexander, their hearts beating in unison, bound by a love that feels like destiny. Sarah smiles through the tears that have gathered in her eyes. "We'll face everything together, won't we?" Alexander nods, his hand brushing against her cheek. "Together. No matter what." In that moment, with the fire crackling in the hearth and the night stretching on around them, they both know that this is just the beginning. The path ahead may not be easy, but they will walk it together, hand in hand, heart to heart. A commitment to the future. As the fire dims and the room grows quieter, Sarah and Alexander remain seated across from each other, their fingers intertwined. The world outside may still hold its challenges, but they have created their own sanctuary in this castle, a place where love is their anchor. And as Sarah looks into Alexander's eyes, filled with love and determination, she knows that no matter what happens, their commitment to each other will remain unshaken. Their journey may have only just begun, but they are ready to face whatever the future holds, together. Act 12, Overcoming Obstacles. Sarah and Alexander face a final test of their relationship as they navigate misunderstandings and external pressures. The days following their tender confession are filled with an undercurrent of unease. Despite the newfound strength of their bond, external pressures continue to loom over Sarah and Alexander. The castle, once a haven of peace, now feels like a battleground as the weight of the world seems to press down on them. Sarah wakes early one morning, the soft light of dawn filtering through the tall windows of her room. She had hoped that everything would fall into place after they declared their love for each other, but the reality is far more complicated. The scandal that drove her to Scotland, the expectations placed on Alexander as the Duke of Edinburgh, and the prying eyes of the public all seem to hover in the background, casting a shadow over their happiness. As Sarah makes her way down to the Grand Hall for breakfast, she overhears a conversation between Alexander and his trusted advisor, Lord Duncan. Her name is mentioned in passing, and she pauses, listening, though she can't hear the full conversation. But the tone in Alexander's voice, frustration, worry, sends a chill down her spine. She retreats to the garden to clear her mind, but her thoughts are anything but calm. The rumors from the tabloids, the whispers from the guests, the pressure from the royal circles, they are all things that Sarah never wanted to be part of. She had come here seeking solace, not becoming a part of Alexander's royal life. Meanwhile, Alexander is dealing with his own demons. The royal council has been pushing him to make decisions about his future, about his coronation, and about the responsibilities that come with his title. He has always been torn between the life he wants with Sarah and the life he's been born into, the life he's expected to lead. And lately, the pressure has been mounting. One evening, Sarah confronts Alexander, her voice trembling with a mixture of frustration and hurt. "Why didn't you tell me about the meeting with the council?" she demands, her eyes searching his for an explanation. "I overheard your conversation with Lord Duncan. It sounds like you're making decisions without me. Like I'm just something to be dealt with, like I don't matter in all of this." Alexander's face tightens, and he stands up from the desk, walking toward her. "Sarah, it's not what you think." "The council, no," she interrupts, her voice rising. "It's exactly what I think. You've been keeping things from me, treating me like I'm some distraction. You say you love me, but then you shut me out when things get tough. Do you think I don't see what's happening?" The hurt in her words cuts deep, but Alexander's frustration is equally palpable. He runs a hand through his hair, trying to collect his thoughts. "I'm trying to protect you, Sarah. I didn't want to burden you with the weight of it all. You've already been through so much because of me. I didn't want you to be dragged into the politics, the expectations, the endless pressures of my life. You deserve so much more than that." Sarah's eyes sting with unshed tears, but she stands her ground. "But I want to be a part of your life, Alexander. Not just the parts that are easy. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for honesty. I'm asking for you to trust me enough to let me be there with you, even through the hard parts." Alexander's gaze softens, but the tension between them lingers. He knows she's right, but the fear of losing her to his world, his responsibilities, is overwhelming. "I didn't want to drag you into this," he admits, his voice quieter now. "But I can't keep pushing you away. Not anymore." Outside the castle walls, the media frenzy continues to escalate. The tabloid rumors about Sarah resurface, and the scrutiny of their relationship grows more intense. Sarah begins to feel suffocated by the constant attention, her every move watched and judged. She longs for the peaceful, private life she once had, and the weight of the public's expectations begins to take its toll. Alexander, too, feels the pressure of his title. The royal family is breathing down his neck, and the council's expectations for his future become harder to ignore. The idea of a traditional marriage, one that would secure his place in history and benefit the kingdom, clashes with his growing feelings for Sarah. There are whispers about alliances, about marriages of convenience, things he has always rejected but now finds harder to dismiss. One evening, after a particularly heated discussion with the council, Alexander finds Sarah in the castle's library, staring at an old map of Scotland. She looks up when he enters, her expression a mix of exhaustion and resolve. "I can't do this anymore, Alexander," she says quietly, her voice trembling with emotion. "I can't keep pretending that everything is fine, that we can make this work when we're both drowning under the weight of expectations. I'm not part of your world, and maybe it's time I accepted that." Alexander's heart breaks at her words, and he steps closer to her, reaching out to take her hands. "You are part of my world, Sarah. You always have been. Everything that's happening, isn't just about the castle or my title. It's about us. I want us. And I'll fight for you. For us." Sarah shakes her head, tears brimming in her eyes. "But can you really have both? Can you really be the Duke and be with someone like me? Someone who doesn't fit in with your world? I'm not sure I can keep being part of something that's constantly pulling us apart." The tension between them reaches its peak, and for the first time, both Sarah and Alexander face the truth of their relationship. The choice before them is clear. Sarah has to decide if she can live in the world of royal obligations, and Alexander must decide whether his love for her is worth defying everything he's ever known. In the quiet of the castle, they come to a moment of clarity. Alexander looks deep into Sarah's eyes, his voice resolute. "I choose you, Sarah. No matter what. I choose the life we build together, and I'll face every challenge that comes with it. I know it won't be easy, but I'm ready to fight for us. For the future I want, with you." Sarah, her heart pounding, feels the weight of his words. She knows that their journey won't be simple, that there will be hard days ahead. But for the first time, she feels a sense of peace. "I choose you too, Alexander. I'm ready to face whatever comes next, as long as we do it together." They stand in the quiet, their hands entwined, and in that moment, they both know that their love will survive the tests ahead. The world may try to tear them apart, but their commitment to each other is stronger than any external pressure. Act 13, Finding Resolution. Sarah and Alexander resolve their misunderstandings, reaffirming their love and commitment to each other. They decide to face the future together, no matter what. The storm that had threatened to tear Sarah and Alexander apart slowly begins to subside. After the heart-wrenching conversation, both of them find a moment of stillness in the aftermath. The weight of their fears and doubts is not gone entirely, but in each other's presence, they find the courage to face them head-on. The following morning, as the first rays of dawn break over the castle's ancient stone walls, Sarah and Alexander find themselves once again in the castle gardens. The roses in bloom seem to symbolize the new beginning they've chosen for themselves. Surrounded by the tranquil beauty of the grounds, they take a moment to simply be, away from the pressures of the world outside. Sarah looks up at Alexander, her heart still racing from the emotional conversation they'd had the night before. "I know we still have challenges ahead, and it won't always be easy," she says, her voice calm but full of resolve. "But I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid of being with you. Of facing everything that's coming. I know what matters, and it's you." Alexander steps closer, taking her hands in his. "I feel the same way. For the first time in a long time, I know what I want. I want to be with you, Sarah. Not just for now, but for everything that comes next. The title, the responsibilities, none of it matters if I don't have you by my side. We'll face it all together. I'm ready." In that moment, they know that their love is stronger than any obstacle that could come their way. No matter the pressures from the outside world, no matter the expectations or societal judgments, they have each other. And that, they both realize, is all they need. A fresh start. Later that day, with their love rekindled and their resolve solidified, Sarah and Alexander take the first step toward their new life. Sarah, no longer feeling the weight of the scandal back home, begins to embrace the idea of living in Scotland. With Alexander's support, she starts planning her next book, this time inspired by their journey together, the love, the challenges, and the beauty of the land they now share. As for Alexander, he takes a stand with the royal council. He firmly expresses his desire to live authentically, prioritizing his personal happiness alongside his duties. He is prepared to carve his own path, one that includes Sarah, and he will fight for that future, no matter what. The people of Edinburgh begin to take notice. They see the genuine love and partnership between their Duke and Sarah, and the public's perception of Sarah shifts. She is no longer just a tabloid figure but a woman of strength and integrity, worthy of Alexander's love and respect. A love reaffirmed. One evening, weeks later, Alexander invites Sarah to the castle's grand ballroom for a special celebration. The event is intimate, only close friends and family are invited, but the significance of the moment is not lost on anyone. As the music plays and the guests share in the joy of the evening, Alexander leads Sarah to the center of the dance floor. Under the soft glow of candlelight, they dance together, their bodies moving in sync, their eyes locked in a gaze full of promise. The crowd around them fades away as they lose themselves in the music and the moment. "I never thought this would be my life," Sarah whispers as they dance. "But now that I'm here, I can't imagine it any other way." Alexander smiles, his heart full. "This is our life, Sarah. A life we built together, against all odds." As they dance, they know that this is just the beginning. The castle, once a symbol of their struggles, has become a place of love, growth, and possibility. And no matter what challenges lie ahead, they will face them side by side, their love the strongest foundation of all. Closing scene, a happy ending. The final scene takes place on a crisp evening, with the sun setting over the distant mountains. Sarah and Alexander stand at the castle's highest tower, overlooking the sprawling fields below. The sky is painted in shades of pink and gold, the wind carrying the fresh scent of roses. Alexander wraps his arm around Sarah's waist, pulling her close. "This is it," he says softly. "This is the life we'll build together. Just us, and the world." Sarah rests her head on his shoulder, her heart finally at peace. Together, she agrees. No matter what. And as the two of them stand there, looking out at the horizon, they know that their love story is just beginning. With each other, they have everything they need to face the future, together. Act 14, Celebration. Sarah and Alexander celebrate their love with a traditional Scottish wedding, surrounded by the castle's historical charm and the warmth of their loved ones. The castle is alive with excitement as Sarah and Alexander prepare for their wedding day. The grand halls, once filled with tension and uncertainty, are now adorned with vibrant Scottish tartans, wildflowers, and candles that flicker softly in the morning light. The air is filled with the sweet scent of heather, and the distant sound of bagpipes can be heard as they play a traditional Scottish tune in honor of the special day. Sarah, now dressed in a breathtaking gown, stands by the window of her bridal suite, gazing out over the rolling fields and distant mountains. Her heart swells with joy and anticipation, knowing this moment is the culmination of everything they've overcome, everything they've built together. The sun's golden rays spill across the landscape, casting a warm glow on the castle grounds, as if nature itself is celebrating with them. As Sarah prepares, she's surrounded by her closest friends, her best friend Beth, who has been there through thick and thin, and the kind women of the village who have become like family. There are laughs, tears of joy, and excited chatter as they help Sarah into her gown. The dress, a blend of classic elegance and Scottish tradition, features intricate lace and subtle tartan accents, a perfect representation of her new life in Scotland. Meanwhile, Alexander, dressed in his royal kilt and tartan, stands with his family in the castle's courtyard. His father, the Duke, and his mother, the Duchess, are there, looking on with pride and affection. Despite their initial concerns about Sarah, they now see her as a strong, worthy woman who has brought a new light into their son's life. As Alexander waits for Sarah, he reflects on the journey that led them to this point. The struggles they faced, the misunderstandings they overcame, and the love that bloomed against all odds. His heart beats with excitement, knowing that today, he is marrying not just a woman who has changed his life, but a partner he will cherish for the rest of his days. The ceremony, a moment of unity, the ceremony takes place in the castle's grand ballroom, its towering stone walls draped in garlands of ivy and evergreens. The vaulted ceilings echo with the soft strains of a string quartet as guests take their seats, each one dressed in their finest attire, many in traditional Scottish regalia. Sarah walks down the aisle, her heart racing, her eyes locked on Alexander, who stands waiting at the altar. The look on his face is one of complete adoration, and as she reaches him, they share a quiet moment, just the two of them, amidst the grand spectacle of the event. The officiant, a dear family friend, speaks of love, commitment, and the strength that comes from sharing one's life with another. Their vows are simple but heartfelt. Sarah promises to support Alexander through all the highs and lows of life, to love him with her whole heart, and to always stand by him. Alexander vows to cherish Sarah, to respect her independence and dreams, and to build a future where they can grow together, no matter what challenges come their way. As they exchange rings, the guests rise, and the sound of bagpipes fills the room, playing a celebratory tune. Their kiss, soft yet full of meaning, seals their union, and the castle is filled with cheers and applause. A celebration of Scottish tradition, the reception is held outside on the castle grounds, where the mountain backdrop and sprawling fields create a breathtaking setting. Long tables are decorated with tartan cloths and centerpieces of wildflowers. Scottish flags flutter in the breeze, and the aroma of roasted meats and traditional Scottish fare fills the air. Sarah and Alexander share their first dance, their movements graceful and full of love as they twirl beneath the twinkling lights. The guests join in, dancing to the beat of lively Cary music. The joy is infectious, and everyone is caught up in the celebration of their love. Laughter fills the air as Alexander's family and Sarah's friends mingle, toasting to their happiness. The elderly villagers tell stories of the castle's history, while the younger generation enjoys a night of dancing and merriment. It's a night of connection, where the past and present come together, united by the love between Sarah and Alexander. The final toast, a bright future ahead. As the night draws to a close, the couple stands together, overlooking the castle grounds bathed in moonlight. A gentle breeze rustles the leaves of the trees, and the stars shine brightly above them. Their hands are intertwined, and as they share a quiet moment, they look toward the future, together. Alexander raises his glass to Sarah, his voice filled with emotion. To the woman who has changed my life in more ways than I could have ever imagined. To Sarah, my love, my partner, and my future. Sarah smiles, tears of happiness in her eyes, and raises her glass. To the man who taught me that love is not just a fairy tale. To our journey, our future, and to us. The guests join in the toast, and as they sip their drinks, they know this wedding is not just the union of two people but the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. A chapter filled with love, adventure, and the promise of a future where they are stronger together than apart. Act 15, Happily Ever After. Sarah and Alexander enjoy a quiet moment together, reflecting on their journey and the castle that brought them together. They look forward to a future filled with love, adventure, and new beginnings. A quiet moment together, reflecting on the journey. As the wedding celebrations wind down, the castle grounds begin to empty, leaving behind the echoes of laughter and music. The night is calm now, the sky above dotted with stars, casting a soft, silvery glow over the sprawling fields. Sarah and Alexander, now in the privacy of the castle's quiet courtyard, steal away from the festivities, their hands still intertwined. They make their way to the castle's high tower, where a small bench awaits them, offering a breathtaking view of the surrounding landscape. They sit together in silence for a moment, each lost in the beauty of the night. The distant mountains stand like silent sentinels, bathed in moonlight, while the fields below stretch endlessly into the horizon, peaceful and still. Sarah leans her head on Alexander's shoulder, her eyes glistening as she watches the stars twinkle above them. "It's hard to believe how far we've come," she says softly, her voice filled with wonder. "This castle, this life, it all seems so magical, like a dream." Alexander smiles, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. "It is magical. But it's our reality now. We've built this, together." Sarah's gaze drifts across the horizon. "When I first came here, I had no idea what would happen. I thought I was just running away, looking for peace. But then I found more than I ever could have imagined." Alexander turns to her, his heart swelling with love. "I'm glad you did. You brought light into this place. Into my life. Before you, I never imagined I could be this happy. This whole." They sit quietly, each savoring the stillness, the bond that has grown between them so beautifully. The castle, once a symbol of isolation and history, has become the backdrop to their love story, a love that defies all odds and brings them closer to one another every day. Looking toward the future. As they continue to sit in the soft glow of moonlight, Sarah takes a deep breath, her eyes sparkling with excitement for the future. "I don't know what the future holds for us, but I know that with you, I'm ready for anything," she says, her voice full of resolve. "We've already proven we can face the impossible. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Alexander's arm wraps around her, drawing her closer. "We've built a life here, a future together, and that's something I'll never take for granted. I promise you, we'll make the most of every moment, embrace every adventure, and grow together. The world is wide, and we have so much to discover." Sarah smiles, looking out at the vast expanse of land before them, the castle standing strong and proud in the distance. "I think this castle is a symbol of us. It stood here for centuries, and though it's seen challenges, it remains. Just like us. We'll face every challenge together and come out stronger for it." Their hands find each other again, fingers intertwined in a silent promise to keep building their future side by side. "We will," Alexander agrees softly, his voice full of certainty. "Together, we have everything we need." As they sit there, taking in the beauty of the moment, they know that this is only the beginning of their journey. The castle, the mountains, the fields, they will always be a part of their story. But it's the love they share that will shape the life they build, one day at a time. Closing scene, a new chapter. the final scene shifts back to the castle, where Sarah and Alexander stand on the grand balcony of the castle's tower, gazing out over the land they now call home. The sun is just beginning to rise, casting a warm golden light over the castle's ancient stones. Their hearts are full, their spirits high, as they look toward the future. It's a future that's theirs to shape, full of love, adventure, and new beginnings. Here's to our next chapter, Sarah says, her eyes shining with joy. Alexander smiles and squeezes her hand. Here's to us. As the morning light bathes the castle in warmth, they share a kiss, their love as enduring as the very stone that has witnessed their journey. As the years pass, Sarah and Alexander's love only grows stronger. The castle, once a place of history and tradition, now stands as a symbol of their love and unity. They continue to live there, raising a family and preserving the legacy of the land they've come to love. The mountains and fields remain a constant reminder of the journey they've shared, one that began with a love story and turned into a life filled with joy, laughter, and unbreakable bonds. Sarah and Alexander, now happily married, stand hand in hand on the castle terrace, watching the sunset over the city. The camera pans out, capturing the beauty of the Scottish landscape and the timeless romance of their story. Happy ending, Sarah and Alexander have found not only love but also a home in each other's hearts and in the majestic castle that brought them together, embracing their future with hope and happiness.
The Stories book is a captivating collection of tales that traverse diverse genres and emotions, spanning the realms of fantasy, science fiction, romance, and mystery. Each narrative is a journey into the unexpected, weaving intricate plots and compelling characters. With a skillful blend of vivid imagery and thought-provoking themes, this anthology invites readers to explore the depths of imagination and discover the universal threads that connect us all. From heartwarming moments to spine. We hope you enjoyed these captivating video stories. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming content like this. Thanks for watching and keep spreading the video story.